Welcome one and all to another edition of the Defo Show with Lubie here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network, brought to you by Water Cleanup of Florida. We have heat, we have cold, we have rains, we have dry. All the kinds of things that can wreak havoc to our homes or offices, whether it's water or fire issues. But no worry, that word issue will go right away. It'll just be a water thing in our life that has been fixed, or fire thing in our life that has been fixed because of Water Cleanup of Florida. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Give them a call, and they'll be there for you. 954-579-0356. With over 60 years of combined experience between Michael, Robert, George, their entire team, plus certified insured contractors on their staff. They'll not only fix your issues, whether it be water or fire, they will make it look brand new. Something that will make your life so much easier. And instead of having to find 2-3 different companies to fix a problem, one company, that's it. Water Cleanup of Florida, 954-579-0356. Check them out on their website, WCUFL.com, on the socials, at Water Cleanup FL. Well over 85-star reviews on Google, Water Cleanup of Florida. If you have schmutz in your life, they have all the guts to eradicate it. The Miami Dolphins have had lots of guts. The Heat, the Dolphins, the Panthers. We talked a lot about all that each and every week on all of our various shows, especially right here on 5 Reasons. Each and every week, we do love to give you the Pigskin Playbook with John Congemi, CBS 4's John Congemi. Miami Dolphins now moved to 8-3. What are they, a half a game out, I guess, of the number one spot in the AFC, tied for that second spot, but feels like they control their own destiny because they will be playing the Ravens, who do have that number one spot. We talked about the Dolphins, where they are now, and where they are going. Again, on a Pigskin Playbook with John Congemi, Defo Show with Lubie here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
Jets, God, they're bad. Wow.
That was so rough.
This guy, Boyle, I mean, the only thing boiling is Robert Saleh's contract.
Yeah.
Probably boiling in oil right now. I don't know. Are they gonna blame him? I don't think so.
Nah.
The guy almost deserves a little bit of a pass for what happened this year. And then you had the Jalen Phillips injury. Gets hurt without even any contact, just leaving the line. Trying to get off the line of scrimmage on a defensive play. Jalen Phillips, who'd been coming on after having an injury-plagued early portion of the season. And once again, the question pops up. I mean, Aaron Rodgers said that was one of those plays when he tore his Achilles that it didn't look especially devastating. Not the injury so much, but he wasn't really pounded into the ground or anything where he said, oh, my God, this guy's got to be badly hurt. So maybe there is something to the idea that they ought to get rid of AstroTurf altogether, artificial turf. Is it still called AstroTurf? It's got to be made of something else by now. No?
I think they call AstroTurf artificial turf. Yeah.
It's kind of like when all the racetracks decided that for safety reasons they were going to go to this weird synthetic that was made out of tire rubber that had been crushed into little pieces, and they took all the tracks out, the main tracks, dirt tracks at a lot of different places, fabled racetracks like Santa Anita and other places around the country, and then they realized, you know what, this surface sucks. And they took them all back out, all of the artificial turf surfaces that they had, and they put like regular racetracks back in, dirt tracks. They do have now a more advanced, developed synthetic that a lot of people are in favor of because it saves turf horses from having to scratch. But and some horses just race well on it. But, I mean, isn't it time? I mean, after looking at what happened at MetLife Stadium, I know it's two injuries to really key players. I mean, the Jets season went up in smoke.
Phillips did nothing. Like, when Phillips was hurt, they're like, you can see it happen. I'm like, see what? I'm like, he just ran. I'm like, that's bad. If he didn't even trip over
took one step,
one
step.
He just ran
getting that
forward.
push-off step. That was ugly. All right, we're going to go with the Pigskin Playbook here. We want to get right into it with John Congemi. There he is, the man. Friday all over TV. I don't know. I think he came back after the second game and did some more shows on CBS. It was great. And then were you were involved in a pregame show and all of that stuff yesterday, even though there was no game?
No, we had off yesterday, which was great, Defo. Good to be with you guys again. Yeah, we had Friday all day, wire to wire, though. We had an hour Dolphin Weekly Live, and then we followed that up with an hour pregame show, and then we followed that up after the game with about an hour and a half post-game fifth quarter show. So it was a long day in Doral for John Congemi, but it was fun because the Dolphins found a way to win against a really bad offensive football team, at least. and they were able to put themselves in position to easily. I'm not talking about scratching and clawing, easily win the AFC East right now because of what happened at the end of the Buffalo-Philadelphia Eagles game.
That was a classic, wasn't it? That Buffalo-Philadelphia game? That was some ball game, as they say. Boy, what a game last night. That was great. Overtime, and Philadelphia pulls it out. Buffalo has developed a nasty habit of finding ways to lose games.
Yep.
Which, if you're a Buffalo fan, that's bad. If you're a Dolphin fan, of course, that's good. Up 2 and a hook now over the Buffalo Bills with that final meeting at the end of the season, looking like it may not matter as much as we originally thought. We thought that was going to be possibly the showdown, maybe for the AFC East and possibly even a playoff berth. But the Dolphins got themselves on track against the Jets after somewhat I don't know if it was a slow start. It wasn't the best Tua game that we've seen, but still too much firepower for a Jet team that can't generate any offense. Where do you want to begin, John? You want to begin with the Dolphins and the Jets? College football was great over the weekend. Had all these rivalry games. I don't. How do you feel about that? You'd be better equipped to speak about this than Lubie or I would. As you always hear that rhetoric about when it was Florida State versus Miami or Florida State, Florida. Well, these guys have been playing against each other since Pop Warner, and it doesn't matter what the records are. You can throw them out the window. Doesn't mean shit. It's really going to be a bloodbath out there because they love competing against each other. I never really attributed that much to it, although if you watch this weekend's rivalry games in college football, you would have to say maybe there's something to be said for that. I mean, did you feel that way when you were playing in college? It wasn't quite the same because at Pittsburgh, you weren't necessarily running into all of those guys that you mowed down at St. Thomas Aquinas that wanted to seek revenge. But do you find that to be true, that you literally can apply the cliche, you can throw the records out the window when teams like Auburn and Alabama, Florida State and Florida, Washington State was a great ball game. Georgia, even Georgia Tech put up a battle against the number one team in the country. Is there something to be said for that?
Yes, I think there is. Even though I didn't play against those guys from Western Pennsylvania and Philadelphia area or Easton, PA, a lot of my teammates did. And they play in a Big 33 game, which is essentially, you would say, Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach County would play against everybody from Orlando, Gainesville, Palatka, Tallahassee, Panhandle. And you'd have 33 guys on, one team, 33 guys on another team, and you would play every year. And they've done that high school game in the state of Pennsylvania forever. And Ohio does the same thing. And then the Pennsylvania team might play the Ohio team on certain years. So you have guys that not only played against each other for their high schools, and they could have been rivals, could have been just on the schedule that year, but you have them playing against the best before they go to Pitt or Penn State, or before they go to West Virginia or Pitt, or before they go to Syracuse and Penn State. And when those teams get or Notre Dame or wherever they're playing.
Michigan.
So whenever you have those games, you see those guys again. And man, that guy beat me in high school. I'm not going to let him beat me again. Or that guy was, I'm supposed to be better than that guy. I was highly ranked, and I got to beat this guy again. So you have those little rivalries inside of the fan base that are just crazy, that are absolutely insane all week and all year about that game. So ratchet that up, I don't know, 100 times, and now you have Michigan, Ohio State. And now you have Florida State.
Like, how impossible is it to, because people, like dumbasses like me, say, don't worry about any of that. Focus on the game. Focus on the game. It's all about
you
the
can't
game.
help but hear the outside noise. There's no, you couldn't insulate yourself tight enough not to be human enough to hear it. Because if it's not the lady at West Virginia with 3 teeth shooting you the bird as you're going down the street, or
that was a big one for Pitt, West Virginia, or was it Penn State?
Well, it was Penn State. Yeah. So West Virginia was a big game. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
It was huge, but the rivalry was Pitt-Penn State for Pitt. Anyway, for West Virginia, it might have been the other way. So but it's unbelievably intense, and that week is just different than any other week. So now you magnify it and you go around the country. Georgia Tech doesn't have all that much appeal, but to those players it does.
Yeah.
And to that fan base it
Georgia
does.
Tech it did.
Because Georgia didn't always have the hammer.
No.
You know, so you got to everybody kind of puts themselves in a spot when it becomes rivalry that, oh, Georgia's dominated this series for 50 years. Well, maybe they didn't. You know, Florida State. Everybody says Florida State, Miami. Florida State, Miami is a great game, but it's Florida State. That's the rivalry. Miami just got themselves in it 30 years ago.
I think Schnellenberger convinced us that they were part of it. Yes.
Right.
Well, I was good, too, because Bobby Bowden and Schnellenberger did a great job promoting that game for the longest period of time. And fortunately, they kept playing each other every year, regardless. Now they're in the same conference. But, it didn't matter. They were going to sustain the series and have it be an annual affair, whereas we all know the story about the Gators and the University of Miami, where Schnelly literally was on his knees begging them to play him in Orlando. He was going to concede virtually everything. It was, like the negotiations in Gaza, not to compare it to a war, but it was so one-sided. You're thinking, what? You want 3 for 1? You want this? You want that? And sure enough, they blocked anyway under the auspices that the SEC schedule was too demanding for them to play a game that they actually had the potential to lose. Exactly. So that was ugliness. But all of those games produced fireworks and sparks. The Gators, they were in complete command of this ball game through the first half. It's not uncommon. We've seen Florida State play like this now the last couple of weeks, sort of. But it looked like a thorough domination by the Florida Gators. And I want to kill that kicker. What was his name? Schmenk? Or something like that. Kicker, he misses 2 field goals. Otherwise, I covered a point spread there, getting 6 and a hook. So, and that last touchdown was very painful. All right, let's begin at the beginning then. You wanted to get into this Dolphin game, which took place on Friday. It was a Black Friday affair, 3 o'clock game. I'm at the racetrack, John, watching a game with a bunch of Jet fans, people that had actually invested money in the Jets on the money line, including my good buddy Kyle Moneyline Martinez, who vowed he would never watch another Jet game.
He was done with the Jets.
After the Jets-Giants played, and there he was, whooping and hollering, all right, let's go, we got him. And then the Fail Mary happened, and that was it. I mean, if there was ever a signature moment that triggered the kiss of death for a team, that was the one. What did you make of the whole thing? I mean, it leaves the Dolphins in pretty good shape. They're coming up this week. They're going to again be, I would imagine, heavy favorites. The Dolphins, 7-point favorites over the Commanders, who look like they're going to fire Ron Rivera and look a little bit lost right now. And as you said, leaves them in a commanding position in the AFC East, sort of where you would want to be at this point in the season.
Well, first of all, let's start with the Jets. Only the Jets could throw a Hail Mary pick 6, right? Only that franchise. You've never seen that. I mean, Tua throws 2 picks in the final minutes of the second quarter and a pick 6.
Yes.
And the Dolphins scored more points in that time frame than the Jets.
It's true.
Okay.
It's amazing, yeah.
So it should be a 10-6 game at halftime, and the Jets did absolutely 0, right? The Dolphins look fragile at best. And all of a sudden you get one play to go, now we've got our spread. We've got the Jets can't score more than 14 points. Yeah, or I didn't have them scoring more than 3 points. I had a 31-3 prediction.
Yes.
in the game.
I thought they'd get killed. I didn't see how they were going to improve any. I mean, Zach Wilson notwithstanding, how is this guy Boyle going to be any better for them?
The Jets offense didn't cross the 50-yard line until the fourth quarter of the football game.
Man.
Wow.
So, I mean, it was as much it was a 10-6 should have been game at halftime, it was really one-sided. And then you look inside the numbers, Boyle completed a lot of passes, but they were all checkdowns because there's no time to do anything.
Yeah.
And the Dolphins kind of went on their merry way. They just kept churning first downs. They kept getting, a couple chunk yardage plays, and defensively they just were, relentless pressure on the pocket. And it was a one-sided second half, but that first half left you wondering, gosh, are the Dolphins really going to let this team hang around? Are they really going to do this to themselves up there?
Okay, what was that? Okay, McDaniel's gotten into this pattern now before that, and I get it. Look, you had a minute, 2 timeouts. You trust your offense. You trust Tua. Fine. But don't you always run first play? Don't you always run it to get into the offense because they weren't inside the 10, but they weren't at the 40. They were on the 20, 25, and plays like that can happen. So you don't want to be overly aggressive because it wasn't 2 minutes or 2:30. It was less than it was like 50. Maybe it was like a minute 4 because it was 58 seconds after the pick six.
Yeah.
So minute 4. I'm not saying go Dave wants it. I get it. We are high flying. That's fine. But don't you run it first down just to see, like, the fact that, and I don't even know if they had thrown that out the entire game to that point. Like, Tua had been working the middle pretty well. They hadn't really scored at all because they struggle inside the 40s now, but they had moved the ball a little bit. They had been okay. You're limping to halftime. Like, don't you just say, okay, either we run it and get some yards or go to half. Like, to me, I was like, even before he threw it, I'm like, I don't know about this. Like, I don't know. Like,
well, normally you're right, Louis. A lot of teams do that. They run the draw. They run some type of play that, hey, we get 10 here. We get 8. We get 12. Now we're going to go hurry up and we're going to kick it into high gear and see if we can get some points. The Dolphins kind of are built differently, in my opinion, because they haven't shown a propensity to stop themselves in a lot of those situations. They go high octane, foot down on the accelerator, and it puts a lot of pressure on people because they can create so much space.
Yeah.
Now, if you had a team that you had one, if you were the Buffalo Bills, you had one guy that you really are going to go to in that position, and then you've got auxiliary pieces you trust, but you're going to start with, the one guy, right? I think the Dolphins have a lot of guys that create space, and it's not only for themselves, but it's for other receivers. Now, that pick before halftime kicked me back the last couple years going, okay, here's where Tua throws the pick before halftime to put the other team back in position to win the game. And normally the other team would get themselves in position to win the game because they were better or equal to the Dolphins because they had better players. They had equal players. Now the Dolphins have the upper hand. So I think in terms of playing the Jets, I don't think Coach McDaniel ever felt like they were going to lose that game. Yeah. And they kind of went, okay, let's be aggressive here. All right, we threw it. We're gonna be okay. And then not knowing that it was going to be, a pick six on a Hail Mary, but they're still going to probably be okay because the Jets aren't going to score anymore. Yeah. We're going to get more points. We're going to that in a mindset. You don't want to go into a game against Dallas or Baltimore or someone of equal footing with that can make, burn you. But I think that they felt like they had a handle on this game. Now, whether that played into the play calling, I don't know, or the decision for Tua to throw that, because I don't even think I've seen him run that play.
No, when does he throw an out like that?
The play was odd because normally you're thinking it's that high crosser, or it's the check down, or it's a quick screen, or it's something to get it going, right? But you make that throw, and then all of a sudden you're going, oh man, you're not going to tell me as poorly as the Jets played through almost 30 minutes of football, they're going to take the lead before halftime?
Yeah, it was weird.
Crazy.
It was sort of similar to the Florida State Gator game where, you're looking at total domination by the Gators in the first half, and they were only leading by 5 points at halftime.
Well, yeah, Defo, you're exactly right. I'm watching that game, and I'm watching it with my son, and he's going, Dad, man, this doesn't look good, And I said, yeah, but you know what? The score is only 12-0.
Yeah.
It feels like a total domination, but the Gators aren't scoring points.
Yeah, they couldn't score.
The Knowles defense is kind of good when they have to be, good enough when they have to be, and they're keeping us into a 1 or 2 plays, and you have the lead. 14-12 or whatever. Yeah.
No, it was crazy. Yeah, you see these kind of things coming, especially with bad teams, where they make a valiant and brilliant effort early on and seem to have things under control. The other team's playing like crap, and then you look on the scoreboard, and it's very, very scant margin between the two, and you're thinking, okay, the Dolphins, as they did against the Jets and Florida State, can easily overcome all of the things that happened to them in the first half with any kind of reasonable performance in the second half. All right,
Defo, I want to ask you guys a quick question. So the Florida State-Florida game, after the defensive coordinator for Florida goes bananas on the sidelines,
Yeah.
even if you were a marginal fan, don't you root for Florida State at that point?
I hate that guy. I really hate him. He talked a lot of shit early in the year when they were beating up on crappy teams. And they had like
But
this.
he looked like such
He
a
sucks.
You couldn't script a person to go to Florida other than that guy.
Yes, he looks like a yes, he looks
The
like
coach on that side.
100%. Yes.
Doesn't he look? I mean, I don't know if you saw this, but you would get this if anybody would, being the golf aficionado and player that you are, and haven't followed a game. Does he look like a young Andy Bean when Andy Bean was a Gator?
Yeah, he does.
You see a little Andy Bean there. I thought he was going to take out a 9-iron and start swinging it after a while. All right, I have to ask you a question here before we get into some of the other stuff. We have more pro games and, of course, the whole college scene to talk about. Pigskin Playbook with the great John Congemi, brought to you by Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, mile marker 104, the Overseas Highway in Key Largo. What's the status now? Did they get the roof fixed or whatever was going on there?
No, we're still kind of in a holding pattern. I think that the Chill's still under construction in terms of being open for business.
Yes.
I'm full 100%. I think they're at half capacity right now.
Yeah.
But they're getting everything repaired as quickly as possible. And
I would imagine.
in the Keys, sometimes that's a little bit.
Hey, Lou, you going to show up today? Yeah, exactly.
Maybe, or maybe show up after lunch.
Guys out fishing.
So I think all's moving according to plan, and they should be up and running shortly.
Yes, the Dolphins survived and advanced. Another sort of rough half for the Miami Dolphins, but they finished strong against the hapless New York Jets, who have a nice defense. I don't know if it's as great as people make it out to be, but it's a nice defense. Offense is one of the worst in NFL history. Dolphins now sitting there at 8-3. And I think in their own way, I think they do control their own destiny. They will face the Ravens head-to-head. If they can win out, and it won't be easy. They have 3 more winnable games in the pretty winnable games, at least. The Commanders, the Jets again, and they play the Tennessee Titans, all on the lesser side of things. They will play the Bills at the end of the year. Who knows where things are at that point. And the Cowboys and the Ravens. So, look, it won't be easy with the Cowboys and the Ravens, but if the Dolphins can win, it feels like they do control their own destiny. I like what I'm seeing. I don't love it all the time. Mike McDaniel's play calling sort of annoys me. What he's been doing, going into halves with Tua is weird. Tua doesn't have the bad arm he was made to seem to have, but he doesn't have a rocket arm either. Like, you're in 58 in a minute with 2 timeouts, you can get down and score 100%. I have no problem with them being aggressive there. But right out the gate, you want to run and see what happens. You don't want to just, and then when do they throw? They out. Tua can make that throw, but it's not a throw that they put out there very often. And if you don't hit the right spot or you're late at all, what happened. You now not only have an interception, you now have a pick 6. And you allowed the Jets to sort of hang around a little bit until the Fail Mary, the Fail Mary or the Hell Mary. I actually like Hell Mary better, but whatever you're calling it. Until that, it sort of got really annoying. Tua throws 2 interceptions in a 6-second span or a 30-second span. But the Fail Mary, Hell Mary works in the Dolphins' favor. They are now 8-3. It feels like things are sort of coming together, except for Jalen Phillips getting hurt, which is really freaking annoying because he was playing really good football. A guy that's always hurt. He was hurt at UCLA, hurt at with the Hurricanes, and has been hurt every single year with the Dolphins and missed nice chunks of the season every single year with the Dolphins. But he's a guy that was finally playing really good ball. And Bradley Chubb, the guy they brought in last year, was playing really good ball all at the same time for really the first time. And we were getting to see this defense really start to hum. And then Phillips blows out his Achilles. So he's gone for the year. They did sign JPP. I didn't even know he was still in the league. He's a guy that would be their 4th defensive end. Look, people wonder why they had Emmanuel Ogbah. Here it is. It's Ogbah's turn. Van Ginkel's played well. Hopefully they'll be okay there. They have gotten a lot back on the offensive side of the ball. Devon A-Chain's supposed to be playing this week versus the Commanders. You have Tyreek Hill. You have Jalen Waddle, who both seem very healthy. You have Connor Williams. You have Teron Armstead, who did not have his best game last week, but he also was just coming off of injury. And Robert Hunt is supposedly coming back, hopefully sooner than later. If not this week, then soon. The pieces are falling into place. It feels like the Dolphins should make a nice run here. Again, Commanders, Titans, Jets in a row. If they can somehow get to 11-3, They're in a really good spot. Really stoked to see the Dolphins actually going for a 1 seed or a 2 seed and not just trying to eke out a 5 or a 6 seed. If you want to check out more of what we have to each and every day, check us out in the mornings, 8 to 9 a.m. on South Florida Live, the Defo Show with Lubie there. Check us out on our national podcast, The Believe Network, BLEAV.com. Search After Hours. Check us out on our live streaming video podcast. We do, and I'm not questioning it, it's what we do. I just don't know what you call it, but it's on nofilter.net or Caffeine TV. Just go to Google, search The Morning Briefing, Caffeine TV. We do that each and every day. And our national show we do each and every day on the Tony Bruno Sports Network. Again, just download the app, the Tony Bruno Sports Network. But for your South Florida Defo and Lubie content, come right here, the Defo Show with Lubie on the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar, and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Hey, folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched, steaks hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?